Chapter 16. The New Leadership. Exodus chapter 6, verses 9 to 30. And Moses spake so unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moses for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Go in, speak unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moses spake before the Lord, saying, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel, and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. These be the heads of their fathers' houses: the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanok and Palu, Hezron and Carmi. These be the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel and Jamin, and Ohad and Jachin, and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman. These are the families of Simeon. And these are the names of the sons of Levi according to their generations: Gershon and Kohath and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were 137 years. The sons of Gershon, Libni and Shimei, according to their families. And the sons of Kohath, Amram and Izhar, and Hebron and Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. And the sons of Merari, Mahalai and Mushai. These are the families of Levi, according to their generations. And Amram took him Jochebed his father's sister to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. And the sons of Izhar, Korah, and Nepheg, and Zikri. And the sons of Uzziel, Mishael, and Elzaphan, and Zithri. And Aram took him Elisheba, daughter of Aminadab, sister of Nahshon, to wife, and she bare him Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. And the sons of Korah, Asir and Elkanah and Abiasaph. These are the families of the Korhites. And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Putiel to wife, and she bare him Phinehas. These are the heads of the fathers of the Levites, according to their families. These are that Aaron and Moses, to whom the Lord said, Bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, according to their armies. These are they which spake to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moses and Aaron. And it came to pass on the day when the Lord spake unto Moses in the land of Egypt, that the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I am the Lord. Speak thou unto Pharaoh king of Egypt all that I say unto thee. And Moses said before the Lord, Behold, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me? Exodus chapter 6, verses 9 to 30. God recommissioned the disheartened Moses in Exodus chapter 6, verses 1 to 8. He ordered Moses back to his task, and Moses accordingly spake so, or as God required him to, once again to the Israelites. We are told, however, that they hearkened not unto Moses for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. Verse 9. The people were apathetic and defeated in spirit. They had not only lost faith in Moses, but also saw him as a reason for their greater bondage. Therefore, when God ordered Moses to go to Pharaoh again with God's demand for the release of his people, Moses logically asked, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? Verse 12. First of all, Moses is logically correct. Pharaoh would obviously know him from his agents that Israel wanted no part of Moses and had bluntly rejected him. He would thus lack any support in continuing demands in Israel's name. Humanly speaking, Moses was finished. Now, however, more was involved than Moses. In his youthful attempt to deliver Israel, he had worked alone and had failed. Now, God the Lord was with him. To act without God was foolish. To refuse to act where God required it was more foolish and illogical by far. Second, Moses was right. There was no reason why Pharaoh should hear him, but God had declared that, although Pharaoh would never agree voluntarily, God would break Egypt and Pharaoh and thereby deliver Israel. It would have been the mercy of God had Pharaoh heard, but instead, judgment was ordained. Third, Moses speaks of his uncircumcised lips. Verse 12. This is the first of the many, many usages of the word uncircumcised to indicate a lack of the necessary qualifications for God's service, salvation, or his presence. Moses is now sharply aware of his own sinfulness, his fearfulness, and his inability to cope with the immense task assigned to him. God's response to this was to renew the charge to Aaron and to Moses to speak both to Israel and to Pharaoh. Verse 13. What follows then is a genealogical list. The purpose of this list is closely tied to the recommissioning of Aaron and Moses. The genealogical list is in two clear-cut sections. First, in verses 14 to 17, we have the sons of Jacob. These are the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel, except that the list cites only 3 of them, the eldest Reuben and his sons, then the sons of Simeon, then third, the sons of Levi. Reuben was the eldest, but had been set aside for his sin. Genesis chapter 35, verse 22. Simeon was the second-born, and Levi the third. All 3 of these were Jacob's sons by Leah. However, both Simeon and Levi were set aside because of their covenant-breaking murders of the men of Shechem. Genesis chapter 34, verses 1 to 31. Headship had then passed to Joseph, Genesis chapter 37, and subsequently to Judah, Genesis chapter 49, verses 8 to 12. Now a reversal takes place. Headship is given for the purposes of deliverance to the tribe of Levi in the persons of Aaron and Moses. Hence the second genealogical list. Permanent leadership, for the duration, from the Exodus to Christ's resurrection, remains with the line of Aaron, and the Levites generally a primacy in religious worship, education, health, and, to a degree, welfare. Moses personally was given great authority under God, but was not given any dynastic power to pass on to his sons. The biblical pattern is not personal, in that the transmission of wealth and power is not necessarily to the eldest. The family welfare takes priority so that it is the godly and capable son who inherits, or, as in Caleb's case, his daughter. Joshua chapter 14, verses 6 to 15, chapter 15, verses 16 to 19. As Hertz noted, the firstborn, according to nature, is not always the firstborn in the sight of God. This thought is general in Scripture. Abel, Shem, Isaac, Jacob, Levi, Judah, Joseph, Ephraim, Moses, David, were none of them eldest sons in their families. The reference to Israel's anguish of spirit in verse 9 means very literally shortness of breath. They were an exhausted people, lacking courage, and God was now providing new leadership. The genealogy itself has some interesting sidelights. Thus, in verse 20, we read that Amram, Moses' father, married his father's sister, Jochebed. This could have been a half-sister by a later marriage, and thus of an age comparable to that of Amram. The Amram of verse 18 was the son of Kohath, Numbers chapter 3, verses 27 and 28. The Amram of verse 20 was a different person. With the giving of the law, such marriages as Amram's were forbidden. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 12, chapter 20, verse 19. Such marriages were commonplace in antiquity, as Herodotus 671, 7:239 makes clear, and they survived in many areas, as in Europe into the early years of this century. Royal families destroyed themselves thereby, as did much of this nobility. Some of the names in the list are Egyptian, such as Merari, verse 16, Putiel and Phineas, verse 25, and also the name Moses, chapter 2, verse 10. The mother of Moses, Jochebed, had a thoroughly religious name. The Lord, or Jehovah, is glory. Phineas, who later distinguished himself, had a name meaning Ethiopian, black man, which seems to indicate that intermarriages took place in Egypt. Marriages in antiquity and until the modern era was well advanced, at least to circa 1800 in the Western world, were in terms of two basic considerations: religion and family. Increasingly since then, race and romantic feeling have governed marriage. One reason why the 20th century is so concerned about racism is because it has become more an issue now than ever before in all history. It should be added that one of the worst errors in this area is to attribute racial hostility to the white races in particular, among whom, in fact, it is the least in force. Among black Africans, tribal hostilities predominate over racial ones, and yet, while tribalism prevails, it to a degree has racial elements. Among Asiatics, racism is very strong. The Japanese, for example, like the Hindus, have an untouchable class. They have the Ainus, and they also distrust their own people who have been too long abroad as deracinated. Some scholars hold that religion and family as basic considerations lead to bigotry and persecution. That this has been true is not to be denied, but this is not necessarily so. In fact, with the abandonment of the propriety of religion in the body politic, bigotry, persecution, and executions have increased. Thus, influential proponents of the Enlightenment and the 18th century prided themselves on having ended religious conflict. But the fact of that era was massive executions to protect class and property. As E.P. Thompson has so clearly stated, in some respects, the 18th century showed toleration. Men and women were no longer killed or tormented for their opinions or their religious beliefs, as witches or as heretics. Cashiered politicians did not mount the scaffold. But in every decade, more intrusions upon property were defined as capital matters. If, in practice, the operation of the laws was modified, this did not alter the definition. The escalation of the death penalty did perhaps emerge out of a subculture which we can clearly identify, that of the Hanoverian Whigs. The Whigs saw themselves as the soul of reason and toleration, whereas Christians were viewed as irrational and intolerant. Whig historians have since coloured our perspective. In the 20th century, more people have been killed and a higher percentage of mankind destroyed than ever before in all of history, and yet our humanistic writers see the eras of faith as intolerant. Racism, politics, and economics have led to mass murders in the 20th century on an unequaled level in terms of numbers and ferocity. In our texts, we see God providing a new leadership for a new beginning. The leadership God provides now is not for Israel per se, because those who left Egypt were those who looked to the Passover. We are told in Exodus chapter 12, verse 38, that Israel left Egypt a mixed multitude, or in the Hebrew, a great mixture. In Numbers chapter 11, verses 4 and 5, we see that these non-Hebrews were found morally wanting, but the same text tells us that the Hebrews were no different. All the races who were part of the Exodus were alike guilty before God of ingratitude, rebellion, and faithlessness. The Bible thus discounts race as an advantage in favour of grace. In a devastating sentence, God, through Amos, declares in Moffat's blunt version, "What are you more than Ethiopians to me, ye Israelites? The Eternal asks. I brought up Israel from Egypt, yes, and Philistines from Crete, and from Ker the Arameans. Mine eyes are on the sinful realm to wipe it off the earth." Amos chapter 9, verse 7. When an age or a people are judged, God begins the judgment on their leaders, and he provides them with new men as their leaders.